Welcome to the Title IV Part A, Subpart 1, Student Support and Academic Enrichment, LEA Program Monitoring Validation Training. Today's training will share the requirements for the LEA's evaluation of Title IV Part A Program Effectiveness. This presentation is intended solely to provide general information and guidance to Texas ESCs, LEAs, and participating private schools, and reflects the Texas Education Agency's current understanding of statute and applicable federal guidance. The content of this presentation is subject to change as a result of further potential information and guidance provided by federal agencies with regulatory oversight of these programs. This presentation does not constitute legal advice, and entities are, therefore, advised to seek legal counsel regarding the information and guidance provided in this presentation before acting on such information and guidance. Documenting overall compliance for a program requirement may require several forms of documentation to be maintained locally and available upon request by TEA and/or an auditor. Also remember, to ensure overall compliance with program requirements, LEAs should refer to the program guide and/or other program-related resources that reference the multiple forms of documentation required to be maintained locally. The documentation requested for submission during the random validation process may not include all forms of documentation that are required to be maintained locally. I want to share a reminder regarding the Title IV Part A program's intent and purpose. First, this program is designed to provide all students with access to a well-rounded education. Second, to improve school conditions for a safe and healthy student learning environment. And third, improve technology for the enhancement of academic outcomes and digital literacy of all students. The random validation items are aligned with the Title IV Part A program intent and purpose. There is an alignment between the LEA program monitoring validation items and the ESA statute. As you can see on this slide, it starts with the ESA federal statute requirements and program-specific provisions and assurances, followed up by TEA randomly selecting LEAs to provide documentation for the program monitoring validation item. Also, the LEA must complete the ESA Consolidated Compliance Report and complete the Program Compliance Self-Check item. Please note that documentation for virtual meetings is an acceptable form of documentation. Participant rosters that include the meeting title, meeting date, and names and roles will be acceptable substitutes for the more traditional sign-in sheets. This eliminates the need of a participant's written signature. The ESA statutory requirement is in Title IV Part A, Section 4106. There it discusses the descriptions requirement, a description of activities and programs that the LEA will carry out must include a description of the program objectives and intended outcomes for the programs and activities in which Title IV funds are used. Also, how the LEA will periodically evaluate the effectiveness of those programs and/or activities based on the objectives and outcomes. This is a summary of the applicable section that is related to the random validation item description. Assurances related to the Title IV Part A evaluation of program effectiveness are also aligned to the ESA statute 4106, which was provided in the previous slide. Again, this is a reminder that the LEA must maintain a description of the activities and programming that the LEA will carry out and include a description of program objectives and intended outcomes, as well as how the LEA will periodically evaluate the effectiveness of these activities. The Title IV Part A evaluation of program effectiveness documentation must include a description of the process used to evaluate effectiveness of the Title IV Part A program activities aligned to the program objectives and intended outcomes. Acceptable documentation may include relevant pages of the past district improvement plan, campus improvement plan, if campus-based, or other official auditable documentation that provide a description which includes 4 documentation requirements: LEA's Title IV Part A evaluation process, and how the LEA will periodically evaluate its program effectiveness, and the Title IV Part A program objectives, and the Title IV Part A program objectives and intended outcomes of funded programs and/or activities. To meet this requirement, the LEA must ensure it is following all of the required documents and providing examples from the previous school year. Issues that may result in an improvement needed status are auditable documentation requested was not submitted from the past school year, documentation that was submitted did not describe the evaluation process in the past school year, documentation submitted did not align to the requested past year's evaluation of program effectiveness, the documentation did not include all 4 program monitoring validation requirements as requested for the previous school year, and the most recent evaluation of program effectiveness documentation was not submitted. Now I will share a few of the program monitoring validations process resources that are available through LEA staff should review the most current program monitoring validations process handbook. It includes introduction, general information, a timeline of the program monitoring validation process from the point of LEAs being notified of selection through the TEA final results being shared with LEAs. In addition, LEAs must follow the instructions for submitting the documentation through the Federal Program Compliance Program Monitoring Validations Work App. The PMV process handbook also provides resources and tools to help LEAs with specific program guidance for selected validation item and a seamless transition through the submission process. This is a snapshot of the relevant pages of the handbook for the LEA's selected program monitoring validations item. LEA should review the handbook for suggested documentation, guidance, and submission instructions. For the validation, the LEA may review the handbook for documentation requested, instructions for assembling documentation, the documentation review process, as well as resources and statute references. LEAs must provide documentation that they provided timely and meaningful consultation with participating private schools through TEA. We have several program monitoring online resources for the overall process, such as the Program Monitoring Validation Process Handbook, instructions for submitting documentation, training video and training slides, navigating the Smartsheet work app system, guidance documents for each program and requirement, training videos and slides for each of the program requirements. This is where the district can find all program-related tools and resources for the ESA program monitoring validations. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this short video regarding the selected LEA program monitoring validation. Thank you for all you do for students and families that you serve. You do make a difference. Thank you for attending this session. If there are questions following this presentation, feel free to reach out to me, Lenitra Guest, the Title IV Part A Program Director. On the slide, you see my personal email address and my desk number. You may also reach out to the ESSA Support Division email address or call the division phone number. Thank you and have a wonderful day.